Dear friends, last week you witnessed William R. Fowler through the book, the author of the book Lessons of Icarus and the Pursuit of Happiness, speaking a lot about a new concept, an age old concept, but we are bringing it back from the trenches to you guys, our revered audience. It's called Occam's Razor, and we spoke about his book as well, Lessons of Icarus and Pursuit of Happiness, which I said I'm using it again and again, not to make it cliche, but to make it more pronounced, more reinforced in your mind. But today we are going to kick off with another discussion. We spoke about the Occam's razor, but Randy said that yeah, last night's discussion again was juicy, and we wanted to talk about uh, how is Occam's razor uh, correlated to yin and yang. He wanted to talk about yin and yang and how is yin and yang. Uh, how is yin and yang truly applicable to each life? It's I think it's part of the Zen philosophy. I think William R. Fowler three is going to tell more about it, and I'm going to witness myself. I'm going to listen to these concepts as well. Why did and why did you choose in your further discussions? I know you did not write it out yet, but from your discussion, you said that you are very much interested and intrigued by yin and yang. So some a little bit about that, please.
Sure. Yin and Yang is a symbol that dates
Mm-hmm.
back to the Neolithic times,
Mm-hmm.
far before we had writing or anything like that. It's a wall, a cave wall
Mm-hmm.
artifact, basically, from when we were in Stone Age. Uh, okay, so this old symbol, Yin and Yang, has a very, very simple explanation to it, and it is that the world, as we perceive it, is made up of complete opposites. We have hot water, we have cold water, we have uh, big dogs and little dogs, we have, you know, sun and we have moon, we have sunrise and
Day
sunset,
and night, right? Day and night.
day and night, right? Everything goes in a pair. Well, not everything, but almost everything goes in a pair.
So, so,
So
so
it's
these are
separated.
these are polarities, right? These are polar
Yeah,
opposites.
dualities, they're also called, or dichotomies. There's many names for it. A dichotomy, a
You know,
duality.
yeah. In the Hindu philosophy, there is this concept called Shiva and Shakti,
Hmm?
where Shiva is the male, the masculine energy, and Shakti is the feminine energy, and their
A perfect
their
example.
their their confluence sounds like yin and yang.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like a perfect example of the yin yang, which is interesting because not only is it the oldest symbol that we know about, it seems to be the most pervasive as well. If you think about it, what other symbol is out there? I mean, if we bar out the Christian cross and the sign of Islam and look at the just the symbols that are out there, not religious symbols, just symbols. The yin and yang is one of the oldest and most well understood of all of them. And the way it ties into your life is to hope that you can identify these patterns, the ups and the downs, the ins and the outs, and maximize the benefit for yourself, or at least try to understand the pulling that happens between these poles. Sometimes you have to jump back and forth between them. Sometimes there's unpredictable and chaotic nature to it. But sooner or later, what's interesting about the yin and yang symbol, if you think about it, we have that little circle in the tail, little circle in the tail. If you think about it, as that spins around, it goes faster and faster, it turns into a spiral. And when you think about a spiral from the yin and yang state, you can say the spiral is about black and white on Monday or black and white on Tuesday. You see that the symbol, the spiraling symbol, brings out a time category. of the yin and yang. That over time, what does it do? It mixes together. It mixes all together, and then it can spread back apart.
What is a blend like? So what happens when yin and yang blends together?
It means you're attempting to do it. You're trying to cover the yin and yang up with something else. I'm trying to think of an example of that, but I've seen it many times. Let's say food. Okay, I bought some food, no names. Smelled. It was Chinese food. Smelled great. It looked perfect. The only thing that they didn't say is that it was a vegetarian product, and it was strictly vegetarian. So that was an example, a poor example maybe, but an example of someone trying to present the yin and yang in a composition where they're saying it might be fat free, for example, it might, have different qualities to it than the black and the white. So we're creating a third nature that delves off of those two of them together. Does that
So
make
it's
sense?
like a so is it like a catalyst kind of? It's like
Yeah, yeah. But I think anyway that these things are imposed by man. These are imposed by our minds on what we see. And that's really important to remember that what we're doing, no matter who you are, you're looking at a subjective view of the world. None of us can achieve an objective point of view on the whole world. It's just impossible to do it.
how
But
is
if
yin
we,
and yang applicable in the current world? I mean,
what about war and peace? Starvation versus hungry, right?
I'm
Love
reminded of
versus,
I'm reminded of Leo Tolstoy's War and Peace. I'm just kidding.
yeah, exactly. You know, So yes, it can be. You can blend them together. And again, I think the spiral does a good note of saying that yin and yang has a different character over time. That's the beauty of the spiral because it shows that black, white, black, white, black, white, black, white again and again and again, like a pulse,
Is
or a
it
heartbeat.
like I mean, can we correlate yin and yang to 0 and 1 like the binary code or no?
Yes, exactly. It's exactly true. The binary code is a false and a true, or a zero and a one. So they exemplify the poles, both ends of it. So there's no two when you do a binary. There's only zero and one. Zero means
Right,
false and one means true.
right.
So that's
So
a perfect example of dichotomy.
yeah, I mean it's like life and death. And I mean,
There's a fun one.
do you think yin and yang are different, or do you think yin and yang are complementaries,
I think they're
or
complementary,
contradictions?
both. They're complementary and contradictions. But what I wanted to say was when you look at life and death, you've read or seen the movie about Frankenstein, right?
Right.
Frankenstein monster, right? That's a
Mhm.
combination of yin and yang, if there ever was one, right? He's got the spiral going quite deeply, because in the story, at least, he becomes very intelligent. He's not just a monster, he's a well spoken English gentleman in the book, and he just looks scary. And they made him into movies a lot scary like that. But the original Frankenstein was just an aberration of yin and yang, a third something that was derived from those two. That's a good example of what we were talking about earlier.
So do you think all these ch- children's classics like the Wizard of Oz and all those different stories have yin and yang in them?
You can't help it. Yin and yang surfaces when we look at the world.
I feel. I mean, if you heard about the book Joseph Campbell, do you know Joseph Campbell,
Joseph
right?
Campbell,
He wrote the book
the
called The
myth. Oh,
Hero's Journey. The hero's journey. I feel I mean the guy who was about to become a hero, he had to experience the dark night of the soul before he actually experienced dawn. And I feel, and I think, somewhere,
some truth to
that's
that.
my inference.
I think you're right.
That you have to experience a degree of darkness to come back to
Yes,
light and appreciate light, or you know when you have witnessed both the worlds, dark and light, I think I think that's where the third element comes in. I think that's the
Comes
beauty
in.
of.
Exactly.
I,
But
I, I mean,
what I'm trying to say is that it's artificial. The yin and the yang are naturally occurring. And when we see that third example of both yin and yang, that's a man-made contrivance that covers up the yin and yang. It's still in there, but you can't see it anymore because it's now Frankenstein. You know,
mhm.
an eye from the sky,
Because
it's an arm from the
uh, yeah, because
see,
yeah, because at some point it's like yin and yang are uh, the
the
two
drivers.
different two different sides of the same coin, I guess. Like
Exactly.
it,
Heads or tails.
yeah. Do you think they are mutually interdependent or mutually
Yes,
exclusive, or
both. They're both. To a degree, anyway. There's some overlap, and when that happens, I'm saying it's usually man made. But when there's
so? If
separation, it means we're
if
missing information.
if yin and yang are both contradictions and complementaries together, I mean that means it's a very rare, unique paradox of sorts. Not at the grasp of the human mind. I guess I think there's the more mystery. I think it's more mystical than uh, we can even conceive of, because now we are not talking about your book, but now we are talking about something out
Here,
there. Is does yin and yang pertain to life itself?
I believe it does. I think that, well, I mean, look at the history of it. It's the oldest symbol that we've got. Is the very first thing that man wrote down is saying this is an important thing, the yin and yang. That goes back that far, like 300,000 years or some crazy number like that, into the Neolithic area. So I believe what happens is we see the yin and yang symbol as a metaphor, right?
Mhm.
Getting back to that one, as a metaphor for what we see in reality, which is black and white or hot and cold.
How can people
So
enjoy life when they grasp fully the idea of the yin and yang?
it's a great question. I'm not sure that there is much to grasp about it because it's so simple. You know,
Well,
enjoy the symbol.
again, it's like the Occam's razor, right?
Occam's
It's
razor. You can't. It's so simple that you can't divide it into smaller parts. Which is what I'm saying about my book. I forgot to mention that earlier. My book can't be broken down into more chapters or more. I could add more fluff to it, but it doesn't need the fluff. So, it is what it is. You know, it's just based on observations. So, is that true? Are observations true? They may be, but they may not be. But the
So,
way I see it is the yin and yang is probably our first successful metaphor for what
right,
reality is all about. It's a symbol that
correct,
encompasses reality.
correct. Is yin and yang evolving with time, or is it the same
Oh
in?
yeah, it's changed over time. There's been different versions of it, different spiral patterns of it, and it's been in different cultures too, where it has shown up in all over the different parts of the world. And it goes
I'm reminded of a very great question asked by my friend. When I was telling about the quintessential utopia, where everything is great in the world. There is no disharmony, there is no war, there is no negativity, there is no darkness at all. It's just good and only good. Like a, I mean, you know what a typical utopia is, right? So
hmm?
when I was talking about that, she said that the world will lose its luster if a little bit of uh, conmanship or whatever
Yeah,
is absent from the world, and if goons are away, and I mean, she said that I mean, too much of positivity is also boring. I think it boils down again to yin and yang. I think it's a fine balance of
yeah.
the
Balance.
both the worlds being in your life, not being notorious, but understanding that life comprises of the polar opposites.
And it
But
can be
then there
reduced
is this
further.
philosophy. I'm going to, because just then in Hindu mythology, I'll not call it Hindu mythology. We will call it in Hinduism. There is this concept called Advaita and Dvaita. Dvaita means duality. Advaita means it's not really non-duality, but they say it's not two. Uh, it's tricky actually for the mind to grasp. But for the sake of the discussion, to make things easy, we'll call it duality and non-duality. So when you step out of uh, the mind, or rather, when you enter the spiritual realm, everything is one. So how do you counter this with yin and yang?
There's a great question. So you're saying the oneness of the universe?
Yes.
Okay. Now again, that's not required for my book. That's an example of a
No, we are
metaphor.
digressing, but I'm just for the sake of the discussion here.
The sake of discussion is worthwhile. But I just wanted to say it's not required for my book. It's not required to understand the philosophy that I'm driving forward. That's all I want to say about it.
Okay.
So what's your
So
question?
thank you. And anything you want to conclude? Because today I want you to conclude and give something great to my audience again.
I'm going to say the same quote I said before because it's worth hearing. This book was designed to teach you how to achieve and maintain a desirable frame of mind. Achieve, maintain, achieve, maintain, achieve, maintain in the spiral of the yin and yang.
Wonderful, wonderful. So this yin and yang is unavoidable anywhere.
It's unavoidable. Now, it might not always be true. Right? We might get a false example of it. For example, let's say we've only seen two different kinds of frog in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
We'd say frog A is one type and frog B is the other type.
Mm-hmm.
And that's our duality. And it's not. There's thousands of different species of frogs, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we've only seen these two in our lives, so we think it's a duality. See what I'm saying? It's
Right,
just a
right.
question of perspective.
So do you think even duality is a myth?
It's one. The myth isn't the right word. An analytical tool. It's a mental tool. I think it's a representational tool. I think it tries to represent something that's actually quite complex. When you get into the details of what it is that you're looking at, the dualities, yeah, it can get quite complicated.
So
But the duality is easier than anything else.
yeah, because I mean, I think the concept of yin and yang in some form or the other, whether it is called yin and yang or not, is there in every religion of the world, I guess, whether it is Hinduism or Islam or Christianity or anywhere or things like that. Do you agree with me, or you disagree?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Say it again.
I'm saying that, I mean, I feel that the yin and yang, definitely it freely exists everywhere in the world, but it also is part of all the religions of the world, like Hinduism,
Yeah.
the Christianity, Islam,
Yeah.
Buddhism, Jainism, and things.
Well, let me
What
ask you
is
this question.
what is your
Let me
take
ask
on
you.
that?
It's a good question. I don't know what the answer is on that yet. Well, what's your take on it?
I feel, I mean, each religion, they embrace yin and yang, because there is good and evil in every religion. I mean, they talk about it. My
Yeah.
friend's question was, there is a necessity of evil without which good cannot be glorified, or good becomes boring at some point, and life becomes sullen and lackluster.
I've heard that before. I'm not sure it's true because the spiral keeps telling us that it's going to get bigger or smaller, right? Occam's razor tells us it can't get simpler.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Please go ahead and conclude yourself and give some message to the
These
audience.
I hope people are interested in this discussion because you see it's not complicated what we're talking about. It's not complicated. But when you read the books and you're all by yourself and you're reading them, it's a challenging read. I'm just trying to be honest with everybody. It is challenging to read this book, but it's not impossible. It's very straightforward, is what I've been saying all along. Sit down with it, give it some time. Don't try to rush it the first time through. And then if you want to read it again, that's where the real gold is. The second and the third time, the fourth time, the 100th time. I don't want to scare people with that, but it does stand up to that
Do
kind
you
of
think
scrutiny.
somebody can use your book like a textbook?
Yes, I've actually talked to some philosophy professors to see if they wanted to include it in their curriculum to study the book. You know the answer I got? We already know what we like to teach in philosophy.
Got it. Got
In
it.
other words, go away.
Great. So, alrighty. So, friends, again, it was yet another discussion with our esteemed author, William R. Fowler III, the author of the book The Lessons of Icarus and the Pursuit of Happiness. And today we had a very detailed, fun discussion about yin and yang,
Yeah,
having the Occam's razor a little bit in the forefront, a little bit in the background. But today it was more about yin and yang, and we may discuss again in a new light. But I think we traversed from every angle about yin and yang, and I think, and
I still have
I
a question. I have a question
go ahead.
for you.
Oh, okay.
Okay, if we say duality, okay,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
we say just the word duality. We could look it up in the book
Mm-hmm.
or in the dictionary. Yes.
Okay.
What is that word? Is it a metaphor? Is it a description? What
Okay. You're
is
talking about the you're talking about the
I'm
book
talking
of
about the
duality, right?
word. I'm talking about the actual word itself of duality. Because
I mean,
whatever is
duality.
true
Yeah,
about
I mean,
that is going to be true about yin
duality.
and
I
yang.
mean, for me, I'll tell you. I mean, to remove all the abstractness of life. I mean, duality. Maybe it was invented to distinguish between you and me, or else because if
But we
everything is
already know
one,
how to do it. We already know about it from 300,000 years ago. We didn't need to invent it, I don't think. I think we observed it.
yeah, we did, but we never brought it into discussion because unless it's like the observer effect, right? If
Yeah,
if there's no observer, it will all collapse. Unless you bring focus and attention, unless you give your energy to it, it
yeah,
doesn't become pronounced. I think we need duality to enjoy life as such, or else if everything is oneness again,
yeah.
I mean, I feel
It's
it's
boring.
boring. I mean, if you and me are one all the time, then there's no discussion now. There's no podcast. I mean, it
Exactly.
is. I mean,
There's no duality.
the epithets like it is what it is, and non-dual are valid
But what are
only
they
because
in terms of,
duality exists. It's a very very simple paradox
yeah, but
which
what
a
is
lot
it?
of people
Is it a
can't.
is it adjective? Is it a noun? I'm trying to understand the word itself. What is it that we mean when we say duality? What is it? Is that what form of speech is that? Is
I think
that an observation?
I think duality is a noun. I think duality is also a verb. I mean, it keeps changing from context to context.
I agree with you on that. That's why I'm having trouble pinning it down, I think. But it's the same argument I'm making about yin and yang, basically. There's no, clear, absolute anything out there, including
Right.
oneness.
Yeah. I mean,
Including oneness.
for me, I mean, what works for me is, when I sit in meditation, when I ask these questions, spontaneously I get the answers. But for this sake of the discussion here, I think we did a kind of a meditation because we are trying to bring out something from within, and duality was one, and uh, because in reality, I mean, uh, there's this concept that you are part of God, and
Yes.
then there is this concept that you and God yourself. I mean, different religions give different
Yes.
um,
That's why I don't
uh,
touch it.
yeah different definitions. So I think duality changes from time to time. I think it's evolving with time, but it's going to be there eternally. It'll be there forever.
Observably, it'll be observably there.
Yeah, observably, yeah, absolutely. As long as you can perceive with your five senses. I think if you go beyond your five senses, I think you lose duality. I guess that's what I feel. Because only in your five senses you have access to your mind. Once you slip into uh, that dimension, whatever you call the multiverse or some other, or you enter the soul. Again, that's another discussion, because again, everything collapses. I think it is an they call it absolute annihilation, and there's nothing at all. you know
Hmm.
I mean that's when Lord Shiva in Hinduism was called formless, shapeless, odorless, tasteless. He was simply nothingness, and
Hmm.
in the realm of nothingness there is no duality.
That makes sense. I agree with you. But I still
So
think I'm trying to say, some part of me is trying to say that an example of a non duality, which really is contrived. That's what I'm trying to say. Is if you have fundamentals of a duality, you have the right and the left, for example, right? They can't be, there's no way to break them down into further detail. They are the edges of the reality. And
yeah,
so when we see something that merges two of those together, I'm saying that that's man-made. It doesn't make it bad, but it's not duality anymore. It's oneness or
okay.
whatever. What do you think?
For that sense, my I have to bring my friend to our podcast, because she will give a very strong argument toward us. I think I'll ask her to read your book. I
Yeah,
sent her your book, but I think she did not read it. Let her read the book and then come back and talk about duality. And I think
yeah.
she's going to pronouncedly argue, because I am a little easy on these concepts, but I think she uses her analytical brain more to dissect things. So our discussion will become more juicy in our next podcast.
You know what's always funny is it's the combination of the intelligence with the creativity. You put those things together, and anything can happen.
Ah, I think that's why we are bestowed with the left and right brain, right? The
Yeah,
logical part and the creative part.
yeah.
See, again, there is duality, the left and right. You know
There's
that.
duality. You can't
Uh,
deny it, right?
yeah, you can't,
It
you
makes
can't.
you crazy if you think about it. But remember, it was been out there 300,000 years. Come on. There's something special about that symbol that talks about our hearts and our perspective on the world. There's something unique about that symbol that goes back before we were even really walking on two legs. That's how old it is. And it's important to keep that in mind. This is part of us, and not just
Uh,
me
uh,
or you
uh,
or everybody.
no, when you talk about duality, I think nature itself represents duality everywhere. You have two eyes, two ears. I think the
There we
two
are.
is. Uh, I,
Yes.
I think there is something really significant in that number two.
How about this now? Let me throw some at you. What about someone who puts a third eye on? And see, there's a contrivance. They have two eyes, left and right, and now they have a middle one as well.
The third eye is a metaphor, because it's not
I
in an
know.
eye.
That's the point. That's what I'm trying to say. It's a metaphor. It's a metaphor.
The duality, it's valid as long as physical reality is valid.
Yeah.
You know
But it can
what
be
you're saying.
twisted.
What you're saying is you're going beyond, and everything is contrived, because what as long as you are human, as long as you're physical, duality is inevitable.
Yes, I believe so. And then all we can do is understand it. And if you understand it and see what breaks out, then again, you're going to see those odd ones that combine dualities. And those are contrived and they're probably dangerous and they're probably going to lead to no good because it's not clear or correct the way it's representing itself basically.
Wonderful, wonderful. So,
And isn't
uh,
that what we want? We want the world to show us what's really happening and not just a bunch of fluff. We'd rather see the truth. At least I would.
great. So your book also boils down in a way to the Occam's razor and also duality and the yin and yang, right?
Yeah.
So we'll discuss further, friends. We're coming up with a new book, me and William R. Fowler. We're going to name it soon, but definitely I'm not going to tell the name of the book. We're writing it together, but definitely it is going to involve the Occam's razor and yin and yang a lot.
Yeah.
There'll be too many perspectives, a, a lot from different theosophies, theologies, different parts of the world, in a world culture, everything together to glorify the quintessential yin and yang. So we'll come back again with yet another discussion about some similar topics. But as I said, I don't want to spill the beans. We'll come up with new topics
Yeah.
as and when the time and the times demand. So please take advantage of this podcast as well. I know this is a little provocative and a bit cryptic. I think you have to go back a couple of times to this podcast also to truly understand what Mr. Fowler is trying to say. But definitely, I'm very sure it will be worth watching and coming back. And again, you can always grab your book of the. You can always grab a copy of the book, The Lessons of Icarus in the Pursuit of Happiness, on Amazon .com. Order it and give it a read and send us your valuable comments. That way, we can
Absolutely.
come up with new topics to discuss. Yet the book will remain the same, the pages will remain, the words will remain the same, and I'm very sure they'll keep transforming you until you become a really great human being. So that's my conclusion of the day, and thank you so much for listening. So far, I'm your host, Sharad Pasmarti. Thank you.